What is going on, Sharp Football Analysis Fantasy family? It is your resident Swami of Konami, Rich Hribar, and I'm here to talk about my top 10 fantasy quarterbacks in early 22 rankings. I know you're saying it's May 3rd, but trust me, there are people out there drafting. We've got FFPC tournaments going on. The Best Ball Mania just kicked off. There are people out there in them streets drafting. So let's kind of roll into these players here. Kicking things off is the quarterback that's paced the position and scoring the past two seasons, and that is Josh Allen. It's just kind of hard to keep him out of the top QB spot. He's looking to become the first quarterback since Brett Favre in 1995 through 1997 to lead the position in scoring in 3 straight seasons. But you just get too much of passing and rushing with the rushing volume with Josh Allen. So we're going to keep him at the top spot, although I wouldn't recommend taking the top quarterback in many leagues. So a lot of people will have Josh Allen as the QB1. That's pretty chalky. But who's going to be the QB2 after him? For my bet, I'm going with Justin Herbert. He started his career with the QB8 and the QB2 in points per game to open his career. He's the first player in NFL history to throw 30 or more passing touchdowns in his first 2 seasons. After a slow start to the season last year, where he was the QB26 and QB22 his first 2 games, he then ripped off 12 QB1 scoring weeks the rest of the way, 8 top 6 scoring weeks, 6 in the top 3, and 3 outright pacing the position, which was tied for second in the league. Paired with Brandon Staley, who's the most aggressive head coach in the league, that's what I want my quarterback to be, with an aggressive mindset. Give me those extra touchdowns. You get a little sprinkling of the Konami with Justin Herbert as well. So that leaves Patrick Mahomes. Not as the QB1, not as the QB2, but he's my QB3. There's no detriment to Patrick Mahomes. I just like the other two a little bit more. Patrick Mahomes has averaged over 20 fantasy points per game in each of the past 4 seasons. He's been the QB1, the QB6, the QB2, and the QB5 in points per game in his seasons as a starter. Now, he has seen his yards per pass attempt drop from the previous year in each of the past 3 seasons. He does lose Tyreek Hill, who has been a quarterback elevator. If you go check out the Tyreek Hill article I posted this offseason. So I do have Mahomes at 3. Not a detriment to Mahomes, but I do have him at 3. I've got Kyler Murray at number 4. He's opened his career as the QB12, the QB5, and the QB4 in points per game. Now, he's flirted with giving us QB1 and MVP type seasons as pockets in each of the last 2 years, but he just hasn't given us that full season. It's still, we know it exists. There is some bugaboos with him. With DeAndre Hopkins off the field last year, he completed just 65% of his passes for 6.6 yards per pass attempt. That's why you've seen them go out and get a guy like Marquise Brown during the draft, knowing that the suspension for DeAndre Hopkins was incoming. And it's still just 6 games. You're going to get him back for the final 11 games, plus with Hollywood there. So I still am high on Kyler Murray being able to piece this thing together and give us one ultimate season before all is said and done. Coming in at number 5, I've got another quarterback that uses legs. That's a common theme among these fantasy rankings for quarterbacks. Still one of the biggest cheat codes you can still have in fantasy football and providing in terms of floor plus ceiling. And that's what Lamar Jackson does. He still provides one of the highest floors because of his rushing. He has just 5 starts the past 2 years where he scored fewer than 15 fantasy points. But where's the ceiling gone with Lamar Jackson? Since that 2019 season, he has just 4 top 3 scoring weeks after 9 in that MVP campaign. We know that ceiling still exists, but Lamar still more of a, we need to see that some of that ceiling come back. The receiving core, not what we like to see on paper with just second-year Rashad Bateman as the number 1 receiver. Now, he did have an MVP season with Willie Snead and Seth Roberts mixed into this top 3 targets. So there's still hope for Lamar to still come back and regain some of that ceiling in 2019. My number 6 quarterback is Jalen Hurts. QB6 in points per game in 2021. He had 11 QB1 scoring weeks and 16 starts. Over the past 2 years, no player has a higher rate of QB1 starts than Jalen Hurts at 74%. He just gives you that sweet floor with rushing. And the Eagles have kind of gone all in on seeing what kind of ceiling he has in terms of them acquiring A.J. Brown. You've got Devontae Smith coming off of a positive rookie season. You've got Dallas Goedert there as well. Plus, you get that elite rushing production, like I said. Now we're going to get into the back half of the list here. We've got Russell Wilson. I'm going with him at QB7. A lot of people say, Russell Wilson, he fell off in 2021. Now, he had the hand injury, but what if I told you Russell Wilson was still 4th in the league in passing points per pass attempt in fantasy football? He has a touchdown rate over 6% in 5 straight seasons. He's going to get some attachment to better wide receivers, not at the top in Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, but in terms of overall depth, Denver is just a much better team and has much better surrounding talent than what Russell Wilson had in Seattle last year. I'm expecting a bounce back season for Russell Wilson. At number 8, I have Joe Burrow. It's a little bit lower than where the consensus has him. but that's not a detriment to Joe Burrow. Like I said, you just don't get enough of the rushing with Joe Burrow, and you see that with his floor a little bit. But I don't want to talk negatively about him because this is the top 10 quarterback list. He led the league in completion percentage and yards per pass attempt last year. He's the first passer to do so since Drew Brees in 2017. But like I said, you do get a little bit of that high variance with him. He had 8 QB1 scorings, but he also had 7 weeks as the QB 16 or lower. So we want a little bit more, consistently high ceiling for Joe Burrow, but you get that sweet attachment to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow. At number 9, he's not going away. Tom Brady, he's coming back. Hit him with that, Wolf of Wall Street meme. I ain't leaving. He'll be 25. He'll be 45 years old this August, coming back for one more season in Tampa Bay. In Tampa Bay, he's already been the QB 11 and QB 3 in points per game. At age 44, he threw for 5,300 yards and 43 touchdowns, attempted 42.3 passes per game. You still got Mike Evans. You've got, we're waiting on Gronk to see if he's going to come back. But Tom Brady, still one of the highest floor passing only quarterbacks we have. At number 10, I've got a little bit of a wild card here, and I've got Trey Lance. I mean, you go back and you look at fantasy football breakouts. Lamar Jackson in 2019, Josh Allen in 2020, Jalen Hurts a year ago. All of these guys were discounted because of their passing acumen for fantasy football, but they carried high fantasy floors due to their rushing floors and then their ceiling potential if they're able to tack on any passing stats like those guys were able to do those years. Now, will we see Trey Lance be the next guy in 2022, kind of keep that trend going? When we did see Lance play as a rookie, which was very limited, he led all quarterbacks in fantasy points per dropback in his limited sample. So I still think there's a lot of upside. A lot of people are scared. Remember at this time last year, Jalen Hurts, people were scared. His ADP started to drop, and throughout the course of the summer. And, buy any dip. Don't fall for what mistakes we made last year with Jalen Hurts. So those are my top 10 fantasy quarterbacks right now. Now, as you see, we left off a lot of really good names. The position is still as loaded as ever. I left off Dak Prescott and Matthew Stafford. Those are guys still right there. They got squeezed out of the top 10, but those are viable QB1 players. We don't have your favorite upside plays or guys that accrued a bunch of weaponry like Derek Carr or Tua Tagovailoa. That's all I can say to you guys is play more super flex leagues, play more 2 quarterback formats. The position's as deep as ever. It's a passing league. One guy I want to touch on the way out here is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson has never finished outside of the top 6 scores per game at his position any year he's played. The last time he was on the field, he led the league in yards per pass attempt. I'm still approaching things right now that we will see an early season suspension for Deshaun Watson. But factoring in replacement value, you can bump him way up in 2 QB formats in those super flex leagues and be more aggressive. If he's not suspended, he'd be a front-end QB1. Factoring in replacement value for the position with 6 weeks of suspension, he would still be near the QB6 overall. So that's going to close things out. There's an early look at the quarterback position. Feel free to roast me in the comments or tack on any of your favorite sleepers. And we'll get ready for more rankings the rest of the week here at Sharp Football Fantasy Analysis.